Hello, welcome back to Color and Canvas. And this video, we are doing a gigantic double dip. And you've seen many people do dips before with paper towels and plastic and on surfaces, but we're using two giant canvases. These are 18 by 24s, which is really too big to do a dip. It's very, very difficult. But I wanted two matching paintings on the wall, and I didn't want to do a diptych or anything. I wanted a dip. So we are using tube paints, Liquitex Basics, Artist Loft. Everything is mixed with Floetrol, and that's what I have in my squeeze bottles in my studio. I used some white flow acrylic with a little bit of satin enamel mixed in, all mixed with Floetrol, and some Extreme Sheen 24 karat gold as well, mixed with Floetrol. And we're going to put all of these fabulous paints down, and we're going to try and dip these two giant canvases together. My husband Dave is going to help me with that. And we're going to see what happens here. I don't have any specific amounts of anything to tell you because, you know, all of these things were mixed at very different times. So I can't tell you the exact consistency, but kind of a medium consistency of paint. Not too thin, not too thick, just somewhere in the middle. The base coat I mixed thinner. I added a little bit of water to it, and that would be the white base coat. So let's just put this base coat down here, and I've sped it up because it's going to take a while to get this thing done, so let's just put this base coat down and we will see what happens next. All right, so now that the base coat is down, I'm taking a little bit of that white that I mixed the satin enamel into and just drizzling that down. I don't know if there's going to be any special effect that happens with that in a painting that's going to be this complicated, but I had it, so I drizzled it down. And then, you know, the chaos happens. We're just using every single color, remembering back on a painting that I did that's called The Kitchen Sink, and where I literally had drizzled every color that I had in the bottles onto it, and it was a swipe, and it turned out absolutely amazing. It is hanging on somebody's wall. It sold right away. So sometimes just playing with all of the colors will give you a really, really interesting result. And it's unplanned for sure. We don't have any control over how it comes out, but you get a real rainbow of colors, and with a dip, you don't really know what's going to happen when you put these two canvases together. And so this is going to be a lot of fun. So we'll just get all of these colors down and just get it covered and dip them together. You can see this is going to be really, really interesting trying to dip two canvases of that size together successfully. And well, stay tuned. Okay, so now we have copious amounts of paint on this canvas, every color that there is. And I'm going to take the bare canvas, put it right on top, nice and even, and try to put a little bit of pressure on it to get that paint to transfer from the bottom canvas onto the top one. Now, if you've done a dip before, you know that when you put two canvases together, there's always the risk that there's going to be an air pocket in there, and they don't hold together. It's a lot easier when you do a very, very small canvas, but this one being an 18 by 24 inch with a cross brace, it was a lot trickier. And so we're going to have to take a couple of tries at this, but right now you're seeing me just putting pressure on it, putting a little pressure around the edges and around the cross brace, and this would have been enough on a smaller canvas. It was not quite enough to get it done on something this size, so you're about to see the reveal, and it was a little surprising for me too. This did not turn out as we expected. Here we go. Ta-da! Well, that didn't work out as we planned, so let's try that again. So that was the learning experience on working with two canvases of this magnitude. 18 by 24 inches. There is a lot of space and a lot of areas that you can have the paint not connect with both of the canvases. So turning it over, putting some pressure on both sides very, very carefully. But those canvases are still pressing into each other and they're not holding together. And I can feel it now after, learning it from the first dip. So the best thing to do now is to get good pressure on both. And with this amount of canvas, putting it in between hands like a sandwich, like right here, I'm putting my hand underneath and putting the pressure on the whole thing. So I have a hand on both sides of each canvas. And that works really, really well. We got great adherence on the paint. And you're about to see in 1 second when we open it up how much better it was than the first time, just by sandwiching those two canvases together with pressure on both sides. Definitely, it was a two-man job. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, ta-da! Well, so much better. There were only a few little spots on this where it did not turn out absolutely perfect. A couple of little bare spots. So how does one touch those up? Well, as the artist, you get to decide how that goes. I happen to have a little water balloon filled, and I was working on balloon rolls earlier that week, and so that's what I used to do touch-ups on some bare spots, and the little balloon did absolute wonders. So, I mean, that's really all that it took, and at this point, we were less than enthused about how it looked. It was really hard to tell if it was going to be great when it dried or weird when it dried, so gave it a torch, let it dry, and I'm telling you, it's hanging on my wall, and I absolutely love it. And here is the dried result at the end of the video. And so don't be too anxious to think that something didn't turn out, because sometimes until it dries, you don't really know. And there are amazing details on this painting, absolutely wonderful, and I'm so happy with it. It dried so much darker and deeper with so much detail, and they are hung together on the wall, and I'll show you a picture of them right now. So I rarely do close-ups of wet canvases because there's always glare, but these were so big, it's almost impossible to really get an idea of how many incredible little details there were. So here's a little walk around to see all these gorgeous details. And yeah, it's funny because as we were, dipping and working on it, I was like, oh, I'm not so sure. But looking back on this video now and seeing it hanging up on the wall, it really makes you wonder sometimes whether we're too critical of our own work. And, find the beauty in the painting before you go scraping it and starting over again. Give yourself a second to look. This one turned out much better than I thought it was at the time. And, I'm so glad that we took the opportunity to let it dry. And I'm very, very happy with it. And I hope you like it too. Dips are always fun, so unexpected, so unpredictable. And one of the more fun things to do with fluid art. Anyways, thank you for joining us. And please go paint something beautiful for yourself and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.